Heard you wanna get down. Heard you been asking about me to everybody else. Now it's nobody else, nobody else. Makes me so crazy. You're the one true prize, apple of my eye. Know you're looking for somebody who's your type. I got it, I got it, I got you. I got you, I got you.
Hi Taurus, Sun, Moon, and Rising. This is going to be your May 2021, excuse me, mini cross general reading. You guys are going to get a bit more time than the other signs because it's your birthday month coming up. I like to do that every month for each sign. And I'd already recorded this like 3 days ago, only to discover I had 4 or 5 of them, only to discover I had no sound. I don't know what's happening. So anyway, I have with me today the Radiant White deck. I've already done some meditation and shuffling on your sign and glyph. We will be clarifying with Levita Sibila. And we will also pull a Golden Nostradamus card. I haven't used those in a while. And we're going to just, let me light my incense here. Okay, I think that's going to stay burning. And so we're going to just go ahead and get directly into the reading. So let me turn the camera around for you. I haven't done an open reading in a while either, and that's coming up. I'm going to be doing one pretty soon. So here we go. Ace of Swords in the center. I hope you can see that. What is the foundation? Wow. The Knight of Wands. What we know to be true. So some of you have received a message. It is either a message that gives you an idea of what to do. For some of you, I feel it is a message from the past. From the future coming into the past, simply because of the directionality of this Knight of Wands. This message can be about anything, right? I always look at the Knights as events, and that event is presaged by a message. In other words, some kind of news comes in, and this moves a situation along. So the Ace can be a yes card. What is the near or distant past? The Eight of Swords. Well, if this is where you were, right, the energy is traveling this way. This says that whatever this message is, for some of you, you felt locked into a situation that you, at least you think you are, you can't get out of it. But I think for some of you, it's going to give you, particularly with this Ace, some kind of indication of how to quote unquote mentally free yourself from thinking that you're bound and you can't get out of the situation. Now this can be some kind of contractual issue. I don't know. I just have swords and a wand now. So what is the unknown factor? It is the Sun card, which comes down to shed light on this, right? And what is the near or distant future? It is the Ten of Wands. So for some of you, I do feel that this may have to do with a work or contractual issue. There are no cups here. Normally the wands represent career. They represent that because it's about your determination and your focus. You know, what does it take for you to get up every morning and do whatever it is you want to do? I do feel for some of you this is about a promotion that has come up. Maybe you put in for one and you haven't heard anything, or you think you're not going to get it. Maybe some of you got a promotion and you really didn't want it. Maybe now is not the right time. Why? Because it's going to give you more responsibility. And maybe for some of you, you might have bitten off a bit more than you can chew, or you've been given a position in which it's a bit more than you can handle. But, that's the way that you're thinking, and it is the way that you are, what's the word? You are utilizing your time, your resources, okay? And resources are not just about your finances. It is your skills and abilities, the way that you think, how you can move on your feet, be flexible, delegation. So there are lots of things in terms of resources. If you have other people, now you've gotten this promotion and there's other people underneath you, you're going to have to learn to trust and delegate, right? And that's going to free you up. This card says that it's not a foregone conclusion that you will fail at this. It just says that, with force and effort, you absolutely can do what you want to do. It's a 10. And 10 cards always speak to changing energies. So, projecting out into the future, this will at some point become an Ace of Wands. And you've got 2 aces, right? 2 aces speak to a marriage, engagement, or commitment. This is, again, no cup, so this is not a romance reading for me. What this is saying, and we'll put the Sabilas on there to see, because sometimes, the cards appear one way and then they want to reveal a bit more. So, what was I saying? Oh, some people can be married to their jobs. A new engagement means that somebody has come to you and said, hey, look, I want you to do X, Y, and Z for me, and I'm going to pay you X amount of dollars. A new commitment could be signing a new contract for a new job. So what is over the whole reading? It is the 4 of Swords. Interesting, because whatever this situation is, the overall energy is this idea of having to step back, away from the situation. A lot of times this 4 of Swords will speak about previously there were arguments and disagreements, misunderstandings, and a need to take a step back so that you can regather your mental abilities so that you can handle the situation in the best way possible. I can look at the the 8 of Swords, the Ace, and the 10 of Wands as they relate to the Sun. I can't look at this because this is either a person sending you some news. That's traditionally how it is, interpreted as people. Again, this could be someone, and I'm going to tell you, if this is a person coming into your life, 9 times out of 10, the person's not going to stick around. This is a fast-moving energy. It's not the fickle energy of the Knight of Cups, right? This is somebody who kind of rides in, shakes this pot, stirs it up, and then boom, they're gone, okay? And so if this is somebody from your past who has entered in, okay, I do feel that you will gain the clarity that you need to make the best decision for yourself. All right, let me grab my book. The Sun is the most positive card in the deck. It not only says it's a yes card, so it's like a double yes, right? So it's not only about whatever your question is, the answer is yes. It's about growth and abundance and fertility. But also, keep in mind that the Sun, its main purpose is to shed light, right? It's supposed to shed a light, shine a spotlight on whatever it is the problem is, the core issue, okay? So let's take a look. We're going to start with the Ace of Swords to see if it tells us anything by the, I think for some of you, this is going to be a difficult haul, because with the 8 of Swords and the 9 the Ace and the 8 gives me 9 swords together. I have to take into account those. In effect, this, right, is this Ace that turns into the Ace this way. And so for some of you, this has already started. For others of you, it's gonna be starting soon, perhaps within the next week to 2 weeks, maybe 10 days. And for the rest, others of you, this will be playing out into the month of March. It just depends on what you have going on, what your personal story is, right? Okay. And so let me take a look at this, the Ace of Swords. It absolutely tells me nothing being next to the sun. It says you just may be sure that something is about to change, which will have far-reaching consequences, as this card is one of great force and power. It implies that there's a focus on a critical and potentially volatile situation or circumstance. You may find yourself in a position of having to take action or make a decision under stressful circumstances. So it is important that you keep your emotions balanced in order to make the correct decision. This is what I was telling you. Okay. It asks you to shrug off pessimism and put the past behind you, as there are good things ahead. Nobody's saying it's going to be easy. Okay. Let me move to the 8 of Swords to see if it tells me anything. And 8s are usually positive numbers because they mean that there's movement. That with the Sun, it implies that regardless of the current adverse situation, a definite change for the better is on the way. It tells you to persist, as your hard work, effort, and intent will bring the desired outcome to fruition in quick time. So seriously, I'm telling you, within the next, I'm going to say 8 to 10 days, at the outset 2 weeks. Okay, let me explain to you about this 4 of Swords here, because I think it's important. It is a message, and I just get the sense that some of you are kind of worried, or whatever the case may be. And this card is an indication that, that some negativity is moving away in your life with the promise of better to come. It implies a period of rest, recovery, and meditation. It may even be indicating a time of bereavement or mourning. It may simply be telling of a need to retreat from the hustle and bustle and the stresses of the world for a time in order to find or re-find inner balance and equilibrium. It indicates light at the end of the tunnel, inevitable changes to come, but use these changes as a foundation stone for future plans. The shadow over your life is slowly moving away, and although you may have to wait until the time is right for your desires and dreams to come to fruition, it can give an indication or an impression of feeling isolated, cut off, and out of touch. It is time to seriously consider new ways and plans for the future, because it is asking you to prepare yourself for changing circumstances and tells of a need to take time to contemplate and reflect and to renew both your mental and physical energies. Next to any ace, and it's not really next to it, but there's an influence. It indicates that some long-term goals or plans may need to be reassessed and reevaluated before proceeding. It may be telling you that although you may not yet be involved with any long-term plans or considerations, when they do arise, make efforts to check and recheck all aspects before proceeding, as some reevaluations and amendments may be needed. And so this is why I was telling you, if this is a contractual issue, all right, there may be something in the contract that you don't see or you don't quite understand, or there may be some conditions in it that you feel are binding and restricting. You should be able to either see what this is or see a way through this. It doesn't mean that you still can't do whatever it is you want to do. I don't know if you guys remember, George Michael had that big old fight with Sony. So did Prince, but Prince just did his in a quiet way. And George Michael went on strike and didn't want to sing, right? He wouldn't do no concerts. He wouldn't do nothing. And Sony was just like, okay, fine, whatever, right? And they sued him, and he didn't get to sing for like years. And then finally, I think Elton John sent him a message and said, quit being a drama queen. Just go ahead and sing so you can be done with your shit. And so then he was finally done with it. And then what we saw when the new George Michael came out was all of this great music. So it doesn't mean necessarily that you can't achieve the successes that you want because you think you are bound. You just have to figure out another way to do whatever it is you want to do. Right? Don't let the system play you, play the system. That's the word. So now let's go to this 10 of Wands and see what the 10 of Wands has to say. I just think this is a time of, and whatever lesson that this is supposed to teach you, think about it. There's nothing about the 10 of Wands. It says it shows somebody who's burdened with worries and stress and who's trying to do too much at once. It indicates that burdens can become too oppressive to carry and you are warned of the difficulties which are sometimes incurred by not being fully aware of your limits. You are asked to stop what you are doing and to reprioritize. It can even indicate that you are not at peace with yourself and you are acting in a selfish and thoughtless manner. Now, if this is a legal issue, it says you will most certainly face defeat. So this could be one of those things. And so the lesson is going to be, pick your battles. All right. It says to prepare yourself to be calm and strong in the face of unexpected situations so that you are able to deal with them accordingly. It indicates that it is a time to set limits and restrictions on yourself and others. This time will not last long and you will be glad for the benefits. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull cards to see what this message is all about, if possible. We don't know what the cards will be bringing about for us. So, and I'm also going to look at this Ace of Swords, because sometimes the Ace of Swords is the idea of the excessive degree of everything, right? It is about worrying and being on edge and on guard. This is some kind of contractual issue. One of the ancient interpretations of this card is a commitment or an engagement, right? So there is something happening here. The question is, and sometimes that Eight of Swords is the idea that we have to put up with stuff because we think, if we do it, the ends are going to justify the means, right? Well, that's not always true. You're just making the situation harder for yourself. So sometimes this is about a truth and learning to speak up for your own truth by using your own judgment and logic and reason. So let's see what this is. Knight of Wands is about. There is a Gran Signore. There is a Militare. Which is interesting because that's another knight. It's a Knight of Swords. Okay. Now, two knights in a spread say you doubt the word of, you doubt the sincerity, the sincerity of a male friend. Okay. And the Morte. I feel basically what this card is saying is that whomever this person was to you, and the Gran Signore can be your husband, the most important man in your life, but he could also be a friend, a patron, someone who helps you, somewhat like a philanthropist, a wealthy individual, good reputation, known about town, kind of spreading the influence around. So that's what this represents. It is the King of Cups. But here with the Militare, this is showing up in the sense of protection, right? Someone who comes to your assistance in times of trouble and or need. And what this is telling me is that this person is removing their protection from you. Okay? That's what that says. Now, these two cards together can sometimes be law enforcement, right? Can speak about fights and arguments and things that become really dangerous. Okay? And so my question or my statement again would be, you may get yourself caught into a situation. Sometimes this is about imprisonment. That's one of the old ancient interpretations. But mostly it's about fear. Right? The fear of being kept in one place against your will when that's not true. And so this says you should be able to see clearly not only a way through or a way out. Nobody's saying that it's going to be easy, right? And so I just feel, and this is 2 tens as well. So this is telling me it's the end of a fire cycle. The determination, all of this is going to change. It's going to go away. What motivates you? And then your thoughts here. What motivates your thoughts? What is this? All of that about this individual is going to end. It's going to dissipate. It can do so in a somewhat explosive manner as well. And so I would be careful. I would be cautious in picking and choosing my battles. We don't always have to put up with certain things. There's something else about this militare, so just give me 1 second. That it's trying to tell me the Ten of Swords. I'm sorry, the Ten of Spades with the 7. Let me see if there's any extra information. Right. It indicates a drastic and radical change, great turbulence, the arrival of traumatic events. In personal relationships, it can herald a painful and sudden separation, violence, the loss of a friend or family member, and bereavement, and the traumatic and unexpected loss of a loved one. Now, there is no extra information about it being next to this card, but he can sometimes represent violence as well. So let me give you this meaning. Oh wait, I read you the wrong card. That was the Tower card, and this is the Morte card. So let me go back. Sorry about that. Okay, basically it represents someone in a position of authority whose disposition can be despotic and authoritarian and only interested in self-advancement. It can indicate hostile environments. Okay. In love, it represents someone who has trust issues, who is always afraid that their partner is cheating on them and consequently makes their life difficult by spying on their every move. It often means someone who is unfaithful. In financial matters, it heralds struggles and legal troubles of some kind in which the state may become involved. It indicates struggle, opposition, ruthlessness, war, and conflict. It can also mean that someone will give you a lot of grief and oppose your efforts to succeed. So much inner strength and determination are needed to succeed and win against this fierce opponent. It acts as a warning of possible violence, usurpation, brutality, abuse of power, and of being taken advantage of by unscrupulous people. So I'm telling you, you know, you need to be very cautious. Let me go back to I think I read the wrong card here. Hold on. When I held up the Morte card. Let me make sure. Yes, I did. And these two, the negative information about this can only be, both of this card and this card can only be, what do you call it? Negated by 2 cards, and those 2 cards have not come up. Basically, it is the cosmic scissors. It cuts the flow of a situation and brings it to an irreversible end. It represents something that has reached its end and is now ready to die out or even break down. Sometimes relationships run out of rope, whether this is a work relationship, a friendship, a familial relationship, you know, or romance. This card behaves in a particular way because its function is that of deprivation. So remember when I said the message is going to come to this guy's like, I'm not going to do this for you anymore. I'm not going to protect you anymore. Or I'm not going to do whatever it was he was doing for you. Okay. Okay. It heralds a painful and unwanted, often unwanted change. In personal relationships, the Death card indicates a separation, a breakup, extreme incompatibility, or that someone has done something which can never be taken back, and the relationship can never go back to the way it used to be. It is the crossed Rubicon, okay? And it marks and brands the person or situation with the mark of irreversibility. It can also indicate the fall of the mighty, presumptions, threats, betrayal, and or public humiliation. Next to cards that can indicate violence, it heightens their gravity, as this can sometimes resemble a smoking gun, hinting that the person may have died a violent death. It indicates closure with something or someone and represents anything that is destined to die and be finished with. But in this instance, it can also indicate liberation. It does come with a certain amount of discomfort and pain. Okay? It can also be related to bitterness and regret for not having said or done things before it is too late. In legal matters, it precludes any grounds for appeal and indicates that a case will reach or already has reached the highest court and will have a final resolution. So that whole idea about your legal, if this was a legal thing, the card foretells of a drastic change in one's financial status. More often than not, it negates money or the opportunity for career in the field inquired about, and it can indicate as well swindles and dishonesty. Okay, that's what the cards say. And so, again, you know, if this is a promotion, you may be dealing with somebody who's really not easy to work for, or somebody who's opposing you. I don't see any twos here, except for the two. I have 2 wands and 2 swords, and so there's this idea perhaps of some type of partnership here. All right, formulate your question for the Golden Nostradamus card. Definitely some kind of fights or arguments. The 3 swords on the wall with the ace at the bottom. Five swords on her left, the arguments and fights, and 3 swords on her right. That's quite interesting. And underneath that card was the 5 of wands. So there's some kind of argument or battle coming up. A battle of wills against a battle of intellect, perhaps. And, you know, that 10, that wands, that battle of wills. Because that's what the wands represent. Will, focus, determination. So, step lightly. Well, number 6. The ring. Isn't that interesting? Where there is no love, there is no life. Never a joy, only struggles and strife. A happy event is coming, for example, an engagement, a wedding, or an alliance. This card may announce family reunions or meeting with friends, their joy in sharing with someone. Well, this is telling me that that ain't going to quite go the way that you think it is. So that's what I have for you. No matter if it's a wedding, engagement, a job offer, it's not going to go the way you think it is. So you need to really stop and consider that option. And so, you know, it doesn't mean you can't do it. You just need to reconsider, reassess, and reprioritize. That's really what the cards are saying. So until next time, I do hope those messages helped you, Taurus. And stay safe and namaste.